City, and I live within its bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is how the city of New York organizes itself. It creates ideas of hierarchy, clean boundaries, and linearity. It is efficient and it is rigid, but that is not how the lives in New York City exist. They are interconnected and interdependent.
I'm getting on the 6 to get to my shift.
I'm on my way to stay with a friend.
The light reflecting off the building was, and it reminds me of taking walks with my uncle.
I'm going with my friends to the Lower East Side, and they're going home, and we had a beautiful day.
We're going home, and home is a really, really great place.
I'm staying with a friend because my husband left me, and that's where I have to stay.
Watching the ice facilities, they took it in my neighbors this week.
So I'm taking a lot of trains out to Brooklyn, staying in an environment that's not what I expected.
Everything's going to be okay one day. It might not be okay now, but everything will be okay. This is like a beautiful painting just passing you by.
Our daily reminder of our interconnection is the train. That clip was from a project called Stories in Transit, where I invited New Yorkers to share a story from the subway platform about where they were heading to. I made signs mimicking the MTA service change notices nearly exactly so they wouldn't immediately be noticed by MTA workers, but placed them slightly askew so they would still catch people's eyes. When people scanned the QR code, it took them to an app I made, which allowed them to anonymously record a story. I then took those clips and added sound played by New York City musicians who I asked to interpret the sounds of the subway through their instruments. Another set of QR codes went up so people could listen to these stories while they rode the train to where they were going. I was thinking about how incredibly visible we all are to each other on the train, and what the difference between being seen and understood is, or what the difference is between what is visible as opposed to what is legible. The more people experience an issue, the less likely they are to report it. Despite how hyper-visible an infrastructure and maintenance issue are, there is a redundancy bias to us really noticing them. I thought of creating a tool as citizen-authored bureaucracy could help to address these redundancy biases, because we don't just experience it, the city does as well. And when the same information can take on a different meaning when authored by the city versus when it is authored by a citizen. When I called 311 in January, it was because the traffic lights went out on the block where I work. The operator asked me questions clearly designed to elicit certain responses so they could route me to a specific department as quickly as possible. It was efficient but limiting. Within a block of this one intersection, there is a college, a middle school, a homeless shelter, 3 bus stops, and heavy traffic. Yes, the Department of Transportation needed to be notified, but I also needed the city to understand the nature of this intersection because the issue needed multiple layers of response. I was asked several times, is there imminent danger? Needing a specific verbiage from me so they could trigger a specific response. There wasn't immediate danger. There was the potential for it. Potentiality is not a category in the system. The operator asked for a third time to suggest to me to say yes, which then triggered a routing to 911, who then dispatched an officer to act as a crossing guard. During this call, I was routed 3 times to 2 different agencies for one issue. While I was given a reference number, because of the routing through the departments, my complaint doesn't exist in the 311 database. When something is efficient, it can be hard to argue why it should change. And efficiency is how bureaucracy defends its decision-making. But efficiency doesn't cover the full scope. It doesn't measure depth and quality. It measures speed of execution within existing channels according to the existing organization of things. Bureaucracy, through its system of organization, creates fragmentation. When interviewing people who work across municipal departments, city offices, and nonprofits, a few inefficiencies became very apparent. People who work in the city are overwhelmed with their workloads, and because of this, really do not like speaking across departments. A form of communication that is needed to improve civic services doesn't happen because of efficiency, which then, ironically, causes more inefficiency because people aren't working with the information they need. Efficiency isn't always the correct metric. Citizens understand how the city works through the point of view of their issues, but the city only presents itself to citizens as it understands itself, which is through departments. Only quantitative information, which can be simplified to one-word data points, is what's preserved in the formal information network of the city. All of these problems point to an issue in the quality of interconnection between departments and in the quality of information those departments use. Lines and grids help with things moving quickly through a system, but when things move quickly through a system, not everything makes it through. Grids and lines are not enough for the city. It also needs meshes. If you look at things from a larger perspective, New York City isn't a grid, it's a mesh. A mesh is a structure that is flexible. A section can change while the rest maintains its shape. If we intentionally design meshes, they can sit in between departments, adding connectivity between them without disturbing their existing operations. Design meshes that mimic the realities of the city, like the living meshes, for example. Social workers, principals, activists, neighbors, artists, people whose lived experiences give them their unique insight in how to navigate the city's lines and how to help others navigate them as well. So shouldn't our information systems mimic the living meshes we already have? Can't civic data amount to something greater than just efficient, but still be efficient? Can it be interwoven like a mesh, relational like we are? Well, in New York City, we relate to each other by complaining. We understand the city through our issues. We need a system of information, a data set that enters the city's systems that is authored by citizens. As the city's information infrastructure exists now, we are limited to not only being able to speak to the city if we already know our issue category and what department it belongs to. But if civic data is meant to represent a lived experience and not a performance metric, then not only are these categories limiting, they remove the citizen from being a co-constituent in their civic systems, because authorship also suggests ownership. In media theory, where I came from before working in design, the concepts of authorship and medium are central. You've heard the phrases, the medium is the message, and whoever controls the media controls the mind. What they mean is whoever authors information owns the information, and whoever owns the information controls it and what it can do. In archival work, there is a principle called provenance. It is the principle that a record must maintain a traceable connection to its origin and its original author. The provenance of a work being properly preserved proves its authenticity. In a civic data context, this means that a testimony from a citizen needs to be held in the system without being rewritten by categories. This is challenging because qualitative, anecdotal information gets turned into rigid data categories so that it is queryable or searchable, so that it can be used. Citizen Set could be an information intaking and processing system that can maintain the provenance of the original testimony from a citizen, but still tag it so that it can be used in the city's systems. Live highlighting to tag would allow this to be done efficiently. An operator can tag any word or phrase as either citizen data, meaning it is qualitative, or as city data, meaning it is quantitative, and will match up an existing field in New York City's existing data sets, which currently only hold quantitative city-authored data. Both quantitative and qualitative tags being created together and both being tied to the same original piece of provenance, it allows for qualitative, citizen-authored information to be pulled up alongside the existing quantitative data sets while it is being searched. Citizen Set is designed to work in parallel with the existing New York City open data sets. Both information streams flow side by side into one information operating system that would be called Data Ground. This would lay new information infrastructure that is adaptable and flexible enough to intake things it does not yet recognize. And a ground where tools and services not yet imagined or understood as needed could be built off of, like an internal search engine for city workers that provides them with cross-departmental information authored by city and citizens. Interconnected information will also allow for more interconnected services. For example, in how we think about maintenance. Departments have backlogs of maintenance issues, and as we know, not all issues get reported. We also know when they do get reported, the true nature of their impact cannot be held by the system. Some departments have efforts to address these issues. Many are volunteer-based. They all operate independently of each other. These programs are focused to one-off issues in different departments and do not have consistent commitments. Currently, there are nearly 17,000 job vacancies in New York City's municipal departments, partially because the city has implemented a one-in, two-out policy since COVID. At the same time, 34% of workers in New York City are gig workers. Freelancing comes with unique challenges. An irregular schedule disconnects you from your community, and regardless of how much money you pull in, to not have consistent, stable income creates a world of complications. A neighborhood maintenance program would offer consistent part-time work with the city, where frequently occurring but difficult to fit in a linear routine, low-level maintenance issues in a neighborhood can be dealt with. Different departments can decide internally which tasks they are comfortable outsourcing to the program. They would then, in collaboration with labor unions, develop training programs for maintenance workers. The city would have a pipeline of trained workers, the low-level maintenance issues that make a compounding impact on our quality of life would be addressed, and people who do not work within traditional 9 to 5 for a variety of reasons would have a guaranteed monthly income, all while working only within their own neighborhoods. If we take a media theory and systems design approach to understand how the city talks to itself and to us, we can imagine new ways of meeting our interdependence on a civic level. And as for the provenance of this project, I've lived in New York City for nearly a decade. I'm originally from the state next door. This project is about taking existing connections and moving them into a different context so they can loop back to us to protect our access to co-governance. In the context that we are currently living in, leaning into and designing for, not around our interdependence, is what will preserve our access to civic services we are all entitled to. Thank you.